Imagine surviving a hurricane that destroyed everything around you, only to be accused of causing it. A man's house stood strong while his neighbors lost everything, but instead of respect, he faced a shocking $10 million demand from his own HOA. How could survival turn into a crime? Today, you'll hear the unbelievable story of how one man's fight for his home turned into a war louder than reason. Marcus's heart raced. He wanted to scream, to ask how surviving could ever be considered a crime, but the room was thick with judgment. His family begged him not to fight, fearing the entire town would turn against them. Yet deep inside, Marcus knew this wasn't just about him, it was about truth. The HOA thought he would break, pay, and disappear. But Marcus decided to stand tall. If they wanted a battle, he would give them one. News traveled fast. Local reporters caught wind of the bizarre case, turning Marcus's story into headlines. Cameras lined up outside his house, reporters shouting questions about the lawsuit. Some viewers supported him, calling the HOA's demand outrageous, while others mocked him, believing the lies. At night, Marcus sat quietly on his porch, staring at the home he had built with his own hands. Every brick, every nail carried years of sweat and sacrifice. To him, it wasn't just a house, it was a symbol of his resilience. And now they wanted to take it all away. His lawyer advised him to settle, but Marcus shook his head. "If I give in, they'll do this to the next person too," he said firmly. He wasn't just fighting for his home, he was fighting against a system that thrived on intimidation. The HOA turned up the pressure. They organized community meetings filled with angry voices, blaming Marcus for their losses. Flyers were taped on doors, painting him as the man who caused the storm. Kids at school whispered about his children, making them feel like outsiders. His family was breaking under the weight, but Marcus remained their shield. He spent sleepless nights gathering proof, weather reports, and expert testimonies. Each piece of evidence showed one thing clearly: his house survived because he prepared. He had reinforced the walls, sealed the roof, and invested in storm-resistant materials. But no one wanted to hear it. The truth was too simple, and the lie was far more profitable for the HOA. Still, Marcus knew storms don't last forever. He was waiting for the right moment to strike back. The day of the court hearing arrived. The HOA marched in confidently, their lawyers polished and smiling. They spoke of community losses, of unfair advantages, weaving tales that sounded convincing to those who didn't know better. Then Marcus stood. His voice was calm, steady, yet filled with quiet fire. He told the court about the years of sacrifice, the late nights working extra shifts to save enough for home improvements, the endless research on storm safety. Expert witnesses backed him, proving scientifically that one house surviving could not create or worsen a hurricane. The courtroom fell silent. For the first time, the HOA's story began to crumble. But Marcus knew they wouldn't give up easily. They had money, power, and influence. He only had the truth. Outside the courthouse, the community split into two. Some neighbors avoided Marcus, ashamed of believing lies, while others finally offered support. Strangers across the country began sending messages, calling him an inspiration. His fight wasn't just local anymore, it had become a symbol of standing against injustice. The HOA, panicked by the growing attention, tried to negotiate secretly, offering to drop the case if Marcus kept quiet. But he refused. "I won't be silenced," he declared. That decision turned the trial into a storm of its own, one that the HOA couldn't control. Every secret they had buried for years started surfacing, exposing corruption, mismanagement, and greed. Suddenly, it wasn't Marcus on trial anymore, it was them. The final verdict echoed through the courtroom like thunder. The judge dismissed every charge against Marcus, calling the HOA's claims not only baseless but malicious. Gasps filled the room as the HOA leaders were ordered to pay fines for harassment and abuse of power. Marcus stood tall, tears welling in his eyes, his family holding on to him. His house had withstood the storm, and now his spirit had too. As they walked out, cameras flashing, Marcus didn't feel like a victim anymore, he felt like a victor. His fight became a story told nationwide, a reminder that truth can weather any storm. And as for the HOA, their empire of fear had finally crumbled, leaving only the sound of justice standing strong, like Marcus's home after the hurricane.